Hi, Pam here from Living in Charlottesville. Are you thinking about moving and living in Charlottesville and you're wondering what and when you'd make that move? I actually hear that from a lot of my clients. So join us today as we figure out when is the best time for you to move to Charlottesville. Is this your first time to the Living in Charlottesville channel? Great. Thank you for stopping by. I would love for you to stay informed and know everything there is about living in Charlottesville, whether it's working, eating, sleeping, playing, drinking, living in Charlottesville. Make sure you tap that subscribe button and hit the bell so that you're notified every time I upload something new. I hear from folks all over the U.S. who are looking to relocate here, and I want to be able to help. So remember, if I can help you with anything, all my information, email me, text me, give me a call. Happy to answer your questions. Drop me a comment below if you want to see something that I haven't covered. So let's get going. So why are we talking about when is the best time to relocate to the Charlottesville area? Well, it actually does matter. Everything has a cycle, and that's true for this area as well. So no matter whether you're visiting, you're looking for a rental, I do not work with rentals, but rentals, homes for sale, all of those are going to have peaks and valleys. So I wanted to point those out so that you knew when to be aware and you can sort of set your calendar and be in the know of it all. So does the weather affect moving to Charlottesville, Virginia, or the university? Yes and no. So the weather is going to be more affecting the move here if that's affecting where you're coming from. Somebody who's going to be moving from up north or the Midwest who has to deal with a lot of winter weather, that could affect when they decide that they either want to sell their home or when they want to travel here or when they want to actually physically move here. Charlottesville area, remember, we have all four seasons, and I wouldn't say any of them are extreme. But in the winter, in this winter, they're talking about it being a little bit more snowy than normal. But overall, we really will get down into the low 30s, but we don't really have snow accumulation, things like that, that stick around for a long time. So the weather is going to be more dependent where you're coming from as opposed to where you're coming to into Charlottesville, Virginia. Now for the university, May, June, and July are going to be the big months when most of the students are going to be gone and off campus, except for in May, they conduct graduation, which is a huge ordeal, and that can actually affect availability of hotels and prices, so that if you're visiting or if you're relocating here and having to stay in a hotel or Airbnb, you might want to avoid the month of May. Students come back traditionally very late, mid to late August. So the summer months are very often time when those folks who are associated with the university will come into Charlottesville. So next, when could it decide when you're going to move to Charlottesville, Virginia? Well, that's probably going to be a moving company. So most large national moving companies, as you know, will give you an estimate and will give you a charge, and it's going to be pricey. If you're relocating through a company relocation, I'm sure that all of that's going to be taken care of for you. But obviously, the more time you have to schedule it, the more realistic that you're going to have the schedule that you do want for both packing up where you are and for coming here to Charlottesville. So if you have more time, you can get the estimate, you can get the schedule, you can be on the schedule. If big moving is not your thing, you're not going to be getting a Allied truck or a big orange, whatever. Think of some of the alternatives. So some of the alternatives might be, of course, the old-fashioned U-Haul or Penske, whatever, that you load up and drive yourself. Probably going to be much easier, be a lot cheaper, but some of us are just too old to deal with that. Another really good one would be the places like Pods or U-Pack, smart boxes, where they actually deliver the unit, you pack it up where you're living, and then they move it to your new location. no matter what you do, make sure you're asking your friends, relatives, who they've used, who they've had a good experience with. And then you take the top names, go to the internet, Better Business Bureau, and any of the other sites that you can get the feedback to make sure that it's a reputable company that doesn't have a lot of issues. That can be a big decision when they can move you. It's supply and demand. If it's going to be $10,000 in May, but it's going to be $5,000 in April, is it worth that money just to come a couple weeks earlier? You have to be the deciding factor for that. Okay, so when is the best time for you to make living in Charlottesville part of your future? Honestly, there really just is not a better time. It's really going to be all dependent on what you need, what your family needs, what your significant other needs, what your job requires. Are you coming here? Do they need you here by an X date? Then you're going to obviously put that into the calculator and figure out how you're going to move it. Well, before you move it, you probably need to actually have some place to move to. So let's look at and think about that timeline. So our housing market really starts January 2nd as a spring market. So January, February, March, April is the big spring market. The most competition, the most inventory. When you get into May, June, July, September-ish, it dips down. We see a lot of people physically moving at that point, and the housing market actually dips down. Our second biggest market is actually going to be September, October, because that's the fall, and we see a lot of people traveling. And then our slowest time for market to have availability is going to be right now during the holidays, so for November and December. So inventory ebbs and flows with those markets, but no matter what, there's always going to be some inventory because people always have to sell, and as you know, people always have to buy. So it really does, it's just a matter of how much inventory and things like that. Once you have a house identified, remember it can take 2 weeks, 2 months. And I've been working with some clients over a year to find the right house for them, for their situation, where they want to be. So after you've identified a house and you've put it under contract, then you have to add 45 to 90 days as when you're going to close on the house, when you will get the keys for the townhouse, for the single family home, for, we're not selling yurts, but we'll just say yurts. If it's a rental, same thing. Most of those are going to be switching over during the summer months, so you're going to want to know about that. I don't do rentals, but I'm sure I can give you some guidelines and point you into some additional information that may or may not be helpful for you. So you've got housing market inventory, and then you actually have finding the house, putting it under contract, and then actually going to closing 45 to 90 days later. So that in itself, you're looking at about a 4 to 5 month span on average, from start to finish, soup to nuts. So you put that all in. Now you have to be at your job by X, so you count backwards. That's going to probably give you an idea of when you're going to be moving to Charlottesville. So the busiest time is always going to be during the summer. If you're PCSing military, if you're coming to Rivanna Station, you're coming for the JAG school, if you're coming because you've accepted a position with or at the university, then all of those are traditionally going to be shifting over the summer. So that's when you're going to find all the schools. We don't have to, you want to register for the little ones, for the kindergarten programs, preschools, specialty daycares, things like that. Those can all start registering in January, February, March. But most of the time, people arriving during the summer have plenty of access and time to get their kids registered to the appropriate school and to go forward, getting the teachers, the shots, the everything needed to get their kids ready. Our schools traditionally go back towards the middle of August. So we go back before Labor Day. So there you go. When's the best time to start looking at moving physically to Charlottesville, Virginia? It's really going to be more dependent on your schedule and your needs than it's going to be anything dictated here. Year round, we're going to have houses for sale. We're going to have inventory. We're going to have more houses during the spring market. And we're going to have more houses during that fall market. The slowest is always going to be over the holidays. But oftentimes we see that the sellers during the holidays are more realistic because, again, they have a reason they have to put it on the market and they're not waiting until spring. It can also be a really good financial deal for a buyer because of that. So no matter when or what is bringing you and living in Charlottesville, when it happens is really up to you and your schedule for what you need for you and your family. So until next time, make sure that you hit subscribe, tap that bell, and let me know what else I can do to help you make living in Charlottesville part of your future. Talk to you soon.